Hello and welcome to Dining with Death. This episode is on our playlist, Deadly Destinations, where we visit the sites of tragedies. Sometimes they're murders, sometimes they're mass murders. Today I'm coming to you from Celebration, Florida, the home of family annihilator Anthony Todt. I'm going to show you the place where it happened. I'm going to take you on a little tour of the town, and of course, we're going to eat here. I'm Stacy Lee. Let's begin. Before researching this place, I knew of its existence, but I didn't know a lot about it. A town built and owned by Disney, made to look like you're living a Disney existence. It sounded strange, and, well, it is a little strange. This is Celebration, Florida. It's a master planned community located very near the Walt Disney World Resort. There are around 10,000 people who have chosen to make this community their home. The plan was established in the early 1990s, but the designers wanted the town to look like it's right out of the early 20th century. All of the architecture has to fit a style of house from that era. The styles are called Neo-Victorian, Neo-Folk Victorian, Neo-Colonial Revival, Classic Cottage, Mediterranean-inspired, and French-inspired. There are other models like the Classic Victorian and the farmhouse as well, and then these little structures they call bungalows. Regardless of the style, all of the homes look like they were built in the early 20th century. There are also some very large homes on what they call estate lots. They're what I would call a McMansion. We have lots of those in my town. They're quickly produced large homes that are meant to have a big presence and curb appeal. There are very few multiple family dwellings, but there is this row of 2-story duplexes that I've been told are supposed to look like Cherry Lane from Mary Poppins. A lot of the homes have large wraparound porches and dormers that give them the proper feel from early urban Americana. They want everything in this town to look perfect. You cannot leave your garbage cans on the streets. They are very particular about where you park. And, well, the whole thing kind of reminds me of that episode of The X-Files where Mulder and Scully go undercover as a married couple to investigate missing people, and Mulder sends the homeowners board into a rage for putting up a mailbox that has a figurine on it and then putting a basketball hoop in the driveway. That would happen here if you tried to personalize your home. I actually looked up the Code of Ordinances for Celebration, Florida, and I think I stopped scrolling on like page 25 with plenty left to go. There was actually an entire chapter on flagpole height and width and placement from the house. You get the idea. But a lot of people like that. They like the rigid codes and the sameness and the comfort of knowing that if anyone steps out of the box, they'll immediately be put back in the box. And you know what? When you spend $1 million on a house, it's not a bad thing to have ordinances that protect that investment. Well, there's plenty of ordinances here. There's also plenty of weirdness. There are speakers hidden in the bushes all throughout the town. Disney used those speakers to pipe in the sounds of birds singing. Yes, you heard that right. There's actually a lot of discussion about that on Reddit, and some say it hasn't happened for a long time, but the speakers are still everywhere, which kind of makes you wonder if they're being used for something else. If that weren't odd enough, from November 27th to December 31st every year, the town gets scheduled snowfall. It's called the Snowfall Celebration, and if you want to see it, you have to be downtown at the top of the hour on the dot, starting at 6 o'clock. The snow will fall from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock for a few minutes each time, every time the hour turns over. I tend to notice weird minutia, and within minutes of walking around, I notice these metal L-shaped brackets screwed into the curbs absolutely everywhere. Well, there are no skateboards, no scooters, no roller skates, or anything like that allowed in Celebration. And even if you were to get away with having a skateboard and decided to board slide, you would quickly find yourself on the ground because of these things. You begin to notice all of these unique differences the moment you turn off the main freeway to get to Celebration. I don't think I've ever seen so many miles of white picket fence. It begins right as you enter the community, and it goes on and on and on. Oh, and on and on and on. This place is immaculately clean, the landscaping is groomed to perfection, and it also, It's not a place of diversity. I'll just leave it at that. I'm sure you will not be shocked to find out that after about 10 years, cracks began to appear on this facade of perfection, and soon those cracks were caverns. The schools, which didn't assign homework, grades, or even books, began to lose students by the dozens and then the hundreds. The recession bankrupted many of the local businesses, and then the town was sold to a private firm called Lexan Capital. Residents say after this company took over, the place fell apart. In 2016, a lawsuit was filed alleging the property was being neglected, that there was breach of contract, and that empty buildings were being left to rot. The homes began to have major issues. Roofs leaked, plumbing pipes broke, and electrical systems failed. Residents began to complain of a thick black mold growing on the insides of their homes. Boy, that's metaphorical, isn't it? And other residents said the flooring had become so weak that the houses swayed under their weight as they walked through them. Why don't the residents make the repairs themselves? Well, if you know anything about planned communities, you know that the community owners have to either contract the work or approve the work themselves. So that has caused lots and lots of legal battling over the years, and those legal battles continue. I will say, though, that from the outside, as someone just here for the day, you don't notice these issues. They've done a very good job of covering them up. The town is spick and span spotless, and everything appears on the outside like you're in a Norman Rockwell painting of classic Americana, that you're walking around in a movie set about a perfect American town. My son and his wife are living in Florida right now as my daughter is in medical residency, and my son is actually a fantastic filmmaker who brought his drone so we could film today. So throughout this episode, I'm going to give you some spectacular overhead views of this unusual place. The downtown area is built around this lake. It's actually quite a bit bigger than it appears in a lot of photos, and much bigger than your average urban pond. The whole town is kind of nestled around this spot, with streets branching off in many directions to get to different areas of town. This is the movie theater, which, and this is one of the strangest things I found about this town, is closed. It's been closed since 2010. It was once the town gem, but now stands as kind of a metaphor for this place. It looks great on the outside, but as you get closer, you can see that it's not operating well. Of all the places in the world to have an amazing movie theater, why in the world can't the town built by Disney keep theirs open? It's very bizarre and quite telling of the state of affairs here in Celebration. On the day we were here, there was an Alfa Romeo car show happening. It really looked like they were getting ready to film a movie or a car commercial. There was a long row of classic and vintage and new Alfa Romeos lined up all along this main street. And the car enthusiasts were out in force. I don't know anything about cars, but I really did enjoy walking up and down and taking a look at these machines. The owners were happy to stop and chat with you and tell you all about their prized Alfa Romeo. We drove around in the different neighborhoods and took it all in. There were little stores and a couple of banks, and then this massive church caught my eye. It is very large and takes up a half a city block on its own. Online, it says the church is called Community Presbyterian Church, but outside on the lawn, I was pretty fascinated by this little sign that says Disney Family Chapel. Now that is something I have definitely never seen in any other town. There are a lot of very unique things about Celebration, Florida, but hey, we're true crime people. We know that no matter how picture perfect a town looks on the outside, at their core, they're all very much the same, and every town has its monsters hiding in plain sight, living amongst the people who call it home. In December of 2019, family and friends of one of the families living here in Celebration began to realize something was wrong. The family living on this street, right here in this house, had not been seen, and people were becoming more and more concerned by the day. The Todt family were a family of 5 living in this home in Celebration, Florida. I would love to show you these family photos, But I'm a little more than frustrated with the arbitrary rules on this platform. Sometimes it's okay to talk about kids in true crime, sometimes it's not. I'm so over it. But to be safe, I'm blurring the kids out. You can easily find these photos online, and they've been all over the news, but I can't show them here for some reason. If you want to see them, go online. Anthony Todt and Megan Todt were the mother and father of this little family. Anthony was 44 and Megan was 42 years old. Alexander Todt was 13, Tyler Todt was 11, and Zoe Todt was 4. They had a little dog named Breezy. Anthony was a physical therapist with what appeared to be a booming practice. It was not booming. In fact, Anthony Todt was under investigation for a brazen healthcare fraud scheme in which he had been collecting tens of thousands of dollars from Medicaid and private insurance for care he had never provided to the patients he was billing for. He had become really sloppy in his work as a con artist, and it led to him being found out. The investigation was winding down, and Anthony Todt could no longer hide what he had done. They were going to take his business, his house, his career, and he was actually facing criminal charges. Family members of the Todts became very worried when Megan and the kids began missing usual activities. The family had gone to Connecticut on November 22nd in 2019 for Thanksgiving. The family got some text correspondence from Megan here and there after that, and they even spoke once or twice, but as Christmas neared and communication stopped, they realized they didn't know where Megan or the kids were. On December 29th, Megan's sister-in-law, Chrissy Caplet, called the county sheriff's office and told them she hadn't heard from anyone in the family since December 23rd. The family had been calling and calling through the whole Christmas break and got no reply. Megan's sister asks if police can go to the home, to this home right here, and do a welfare check on the family. She told them that apparently the family had been really sick for over a week, and she was more than a little concerned. Sheriff Russ Gibson reported back to Chrissy that officers came here to the home on Reserve Place and knocked and walked the perimeter of the house, but got no answer, and they did not see anything suspicious. Almost a week goes by. The family has heard nothing from the Todts in weeks now, and they are beginning to panic. Then on January 6th, they got text messages from Anthony's phone and from Megan's phone. Anthony claimed his phone had been stolen and then located at a Starbucks in Sarasota, and that the phone was in the possession of the police. That's the reason he gave for not texting or calling back. A neighbor came forward and told police that she had texted Megan to tell her there was an eviction notice on the family's front door. The neighbor said the only response she got from Megan's phone said, "Okay, thanks." In early January, an arrest warrant was issued for Anthony Todt, a warrant based on the charges of fraud that he was facing. This must have been a federal warrant because now the FBI gets involved. On January 9th, an FBI agent called the sheriff's department and asked if they could help find Anthony Todt. He was unaware that the family was missing. Once the FBI learned that information, the media picked up the story, and Chrissy Caplet heard that the FBI had become involved. Chrissy told the media, "My sister-in-law had made a comment that basically the world is ending on December 28th, but that she didn't know what that meant. She said, nobody has physically talked to my sister-in-law since the 26th of December, and my brother stopped texting as of Monday, January 6th. The Todts had 2 properties here in Celebration, Florida, but this house on Reserve Place is where they were living. On January 10th, around 5:00 p.m., 2 deputies went to the 2 homes in Celebration, citing the requests from the FBI and Todd's relatives as cause for the search. They first knocked on the door here at Reserve Place, but got no answer. They said the door was locked and all the windows had the blinds closed. The mail in the mailbox was dated January 6th, and still on the door hung the eviction notice. They then went to the second property and found an eviction notice there as well. They don't have probable cause to enter the homes, so they leave. But they return on January 11th and go through the same routine, checking the doors, walking the perimeters. Someone then sees Anthony Todt either go into the home or moving around inside the home, and they alert the police that he is there. Officers come back to the street and again approach the front door of this house. They knock on the door. There is no answer. Investigators then tried the doorknob and it was unlocked. They opened the door and went inside. There they found Anthony Todt. He was, of course, very surprised to see them, and when they asked where his wife was, he said, "Upstairs. I believe she's sleeping." One of the officers yelled upstairs repeatedly for Megan to come downstairs. They got no reply. One officer then went upstairs to search. He went room to room until in one bedroom he found the bodies of Megan, Alexander, Tyler, and Zoe, along with the body of the family dog. The bodies were in the early stages of decomposition and had been there for more than a week. I am confused as to why there were no reports of smell, but I couldn't seem to find any information on that issue. Some of the bodies had obvious stab wounds, others did not. I won't go into more detail than that. It was later found that Megan and all the children had toxic levels of Benadryl in their bodies. Anthony Todt was arrested and taken into custody. He was questioned and he admitted to killing his entire family. He then told detectives that his head was spinning and he was confused. When he was medically examined, it was determined that he needed to be hospitalized because he too had overdosed on Benadryl. Of course, later on, Anthony's attorneys would say that his confession is not admissible because he was medically unfit when he gave it. Since the time of his arrest, Anthony Todt has complained of a myriad of health issues, and that, combined with the pandemic, as well as the sudden death of Anthony's attorney, has delayed his trial over and over. On January 12, 2022, a judge set the date of April 4th for trial to begin. That is about a month from now, so I will continue to update this case as it progresses. Anthony Todt's interviews have not been released because the trial has not begun, so I cannot give you information as to whether or not he has spoken about why he did what he did. But we are all painfully aware these guys all have things in common. They lie, they cheat, they steal, and they hide it really well for a long time, and then it all comes crashing down around them. When it does, the people close to them find themselves in great danger, and then we end up with a story like this one, the classic story of the family annihilator. A person with an ego so large that they cannot bear to face their families and tell them their whole life has been a lie. So instead they take those lives from the people closest to them. All that matters to these evil people is that they are comfortable. If facing their families makes them uncomfortable, those families are not long for this world. It's a sad story that we see all too often, but that, unfortunately, we have become familiar with. Now, as we always do on this playlist, we dine in the deadly destination. We explore the connection between food and death, two things we all have in common. Celebration, Florida does not have a lot of restaurants, but after asking around, it was very clear there is one location that's considered the town pub. This little spot is called Celebration Town Tavern. It sits right in the center of town, not far from the closed movie theater, and it's always busy. The motto of the town tavern is family, food, and friends, and it features traditional American fare like clam chowder, burgers, fish and chips, and pasta. They advertise that they have 99 bottles of beer, meaning they serve 99 different types of bottled beer. We grabbed a table outside on this cloudy but still warm day. We grabbed a couple of beers with our kids and watched the people go by. We ordered clam chowder to start, and it was actually quite good. It had lots of clams and vegetables. We also tried the fish and chips. Our server recommended them, and they were great. The fish was flaky and the batter was well seasoned. You know I love my French fries as well. The place was packed, and it was obvious that a lot of the people there were friends and neighbors. This is a cute little tavern in a very unusual, one-of-a-kind town that, regardless of its issues, is a very pretty place and one that many people really enjoy living in. Unfortunately, it is also the place where an entire family was destroyed, all because an evil man was about to be forced to face his own lies and deception. Thank you for joining me today on Dining with Death, Deadly Destinations. If you haven't subscribed yet, I would sure appreciate it if you would. Thanks so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, stay safe, be kind to each other, and I'll see you next time on Dining with Death. Bye.